we have a recording of it. Okay, so perfect timing on this one, because it is about time that we talk about sustainable splurges. If you are newer to the program and you haven't had a splurge, or you feel like having a cheat, this is what we're going to talk about today. And there's a fine line, because there's a fine line between not having one, and there's a fine line between overdoing it. And I always caution people away from avoiding them, because you shouldn't avoid them. If you avoid them, then you're going to end up relapsing. And I've seen it happen. I've experienced it happen. When you're losing weight and you're feeling amazing, you feel like you can go forever without cheating or having that splurge. But the day will come where you're going to want it. And also, there's that fear of not understanding the moderation. And people often will say they don't know when to stop. So having one cookie is not the problem. It's that one cookie that triggers having multiple cookies. So this is a learned thing, and we have to learn how to do this. And so what better way to do it than in a controlled atmosphere? So when I first started dieting, I fell into the trap of thinking that you should have a cheat meal. And if you look it up online, cheat meals are still really popular. There's a whole philosophy of people, or a generation of people, I should say, that have the philosophy that you should cheat. And I've said this in my book. I say it on my podcasts. We don't cheat in anything, typically, and cheaters always finish last. So why would we cheat on our health? It also, when we cheat, it brings negative connotation. So when we're going into it thinking that it's a cheat, we're right away creating the mindset of we're doing something wrong. So we're going to plan this, and having a plan is going to create a whole different outlook and a whole different atmosphere for what you're doing, and it's going to make it okay. And you could do this successfully, but there are some rules to it. And when I say rules, I don't mean my rules. They're more mental mindset rules, and keeping you from derailing, because the derailment could happen. And where the derailment happens is more from a mental standpoint. If you eat too much, you feel like you overdid it, you don't want to face the scale. The longer you go without facing the scale, the longer and greater the chances are that you are not going to get back on track. And that's usually what happens, is people will have a little bit of a slip, give themselves a little leeway, and then they don't know how to get back on track. So this is a learned behavior. And I've learned how to do it. I've, like I said, when I first started dieting, I did the cheat meal thing. The Rock, the celebrity, The Rock, he promotes having cheat meals. Like, he promotes just mowing down tons and tons of calories at once. There's a group of people that say it's good for your metabolism. The group of people that say it's good for your metabolism are not nutritionists, and they are not in the medical field. That is a myth. That is hearsay. It is not good for your metabolism to boggle down your system with thousands and thousands of calories in one sitting. So it's counter predict. I mean, it makes no sense to do that. So I'm going to go through the right ways to do it, and then we're going to kind of talk about what happens if you slip, and how do you get yourself back on track. Okay, and then I'll give examples of cheat meals. So I'm going to share my screen, and this actually this is not only cheat meal, but I'm kind of rolling also if you wanted to have like just a daily splurge even. So not only is it mean like your weekend hurrah, but maybe you want to just have a daily something in your day. So kind of think of it as both of those things as I go through all of this. Okay. So I am going to share this and pop this open. Oh, you guys got to see the last slide. All right. All right, so here we go. So how can you splurge without cheating? Like I said, it's a slippery slope. It's sometimes we don't know where to stop, and sometimes we don't know what is too much. So we have to figure out and systematically calculate the right amount of portion and calories that is going to make it enjoyable without going overboard. As you know, when you're dieting, you are eliminating a lot of foods and you might be craving foods that you haven't had in a long, long time. A lot of times those are mental cravings. Like you might want that cheeseburger, you might want that pizza, but when it really comes down to it and you're faced with it, are you really going to eat it? And if you do, how much are you going to enjoy it? It's more the buildup of you haven't had it in so long. So you have to almost evaluate, do you really, really want it? And if you do, then absolutely you should incorporate it. So the difference between a sustainable splurge and a cheat. So a sustainable splurge is something that you can incorporate and have it be sustainable. This is something that clients that I've been working with and myself now can incorporate into their week, once a week, or doesn't have to be once a week. It could be less than that when they want to have it. And it's something that they want to have and something that they want to enjoy. We're going to talk about the differences. We're going to talk about the dangers of cheat meals. We're going to talk about the pitfalls of cheating yourself. So there's a difference between a cheat meal and cheating yourself. We're going to discuss.
Hey, Irene, I can't see your screen.
I was about to, that's why I unmuted myself. We're seeing an email or voicemail or something.
I'm so glad someone stopped me. You can't see my screen?
No, we're seeing like just, yeah.
What do you guys?
We're seeing like voice.
Oh, okay, never mind. I see it says, hang on a second. One second. Let's try that again.
It's saying that you're starting screen sharing, but it's black.
Okay, 1 second here. Share screen. And okay, you guys see my text messages.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. You guys see this now? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
All good.
All right, let's try this again. Well, you didn't miss anything because it was just the first slide, which was this. Now you can see this. Yes, perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about the misconceptions and the myths of what people say is good and bad about cheat meals. You're going to meet some Get You Fit characters, and if you've been in my program before, you've met them before. And then we're going to talk about creating a realistic plan for incorporating this into your life. So the dangers of cheat meals. 86% of people believe that they should get a cheat meal or a cheat day. And think about this. A cheat day would mean an entire day of food extravaganza. Now that you guys know the worth of calories and you know how heavy calories can be, imagine getting to eat whatever you wanted for one full day. You have not calculated a free-for-all day just yet, but if you had, it would literally count up to be a mind-blowing amount of calories. So we don't want to do that. It should be one meal, not a day. Cheat days or meals sabotage your efforts. There's negative connotations It's an undocumented loss of control. So if you are not counting what you're eating, and you have the mindset of, I'm going to have a cheat meal or I'm going to have a cheat day, it is going to just be a free for all. And those calories are going to add up faster than you can even imagine. And when we do this, we justify it as being allowed. And when we think it's allowed, our brains and our mindset doesn't seem to understand then that the amount of calories that are adding up far surpass the work that we've done all week long. And so when progress isn't being made, frustration occurs. And until somebody actually adds up the calories and shows you the differences, it really creates negativity because you're not understanding what is holding you back. So we want to keep negativity out of the picture, and we want to keep you understanding exactly what you're taking in. Because if you're going to eat something and it's going to be 3,000 calories, you should understand that it's 3,000 calories. So 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And I laugh because I love these little memes. There's a million of them out, but I don't always have a cheat day. But when I do, I eat for myself and half of Africa. And that is definitely the mindset. So this here is what a typical person will burn in working out. And when I say a typical person, I mean a typical person who works out 6 days a week, which is not a typical person. A typical person usually only works out 3 to 4 days a week. Many of you don't even do that. So looking at this is a lot of physical activity. This is Monday, 350 calories burned. Tuesday, 500, and you could read the rest. So after this tremendous effort of working out every single day, and on Saturday, we put in that extra effort because it's Saturday and I'm gonna have my cheat meal, spending a little extra time at the gym. This person has burnt 2,400 calories for the week. So I'm going to show you what happens if you let your guard down and you go out for one meal, and it's a cheat meal, okay? But you're not paying attention to the calories. You're having a night out and you're not paying attention to the calories. But you're also not going crazy because you're being mindful. You've lost weight and you don't want to blow it, okay? So you are going to go out to eat. Let's just say Cooper's Hawk. And if you've read my book, I did use that as an example. So this is a perfect scenario of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So you have a glass of wine. Start out dinner. I'll take a glass of wine. And the bread comes. So, oh, you want that bread so bad. So you are not going to eat that entire bread from Cooper's Hawk because that whole thing of bread is 450 calories. So instead, you just cut off a little sliver and you don't put on any butter because you're being good. And bang, bang, shrimp. So it comes to the table and you are being very mindful. So you only eat 2 of the shrimp, 2, just 2. And they're just shrimp. They're not even breaded, right? I mean, you're sitting there going, I am doing so good. I just had a little bit of bread and 2 shrimp. Score. So I'm going to have another glass of wine, right? Like, I mean, this person's like killing it, right? So dinner comes and kind of nervous, don't want to blow progress. So spends all this time on the menu, doesn't look anything up because it's, cheap. So person decides to make a really good choice and orders ahi tuna. Brilliant, right? And this ahi tuna is not breaded. As you can see here, there's no oil. It's like the healthiest thing on the menu. So here we are, boom, 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 feeling so good. So dessert comes around and, oh, that looks so good. So not going to eat the whole thing, not going to eat the whole slice of cheesecake. So cheesecake comes and person's thinking, you know what? I only took a little nibble of this bread. I only ate 2 of these. I ordered the lightest thing on the menu. I'm just going to eat this piece of cheesecake. I did good. So would you agree that this person's cheat meal was, or splurge, was realistic? This was a good choice. I mean, we are not going out for cheeseburgers and fries and elephant ears, right? So I did a little fitness pal. And this is not anything far-fetched. I mean, I could have done a lot worse. And I know you can't see all these little numbers, so I made them bigger for you. 160 calories for the glass of wine, 84 for the little sliver of bread, 390 for 2 bang bang shrimp, which is so pathetic, you know. 160 for the other glass of wine, 950 for this entree. Yep. And 500 for this little piece of cake. Bam. I mean, and so this isn't even outrageous. This is not even outrageous. And this person probably would tell you that this isn't even a cheat meal. This is just I did a good thing by going out to dinner and I behaved myself. And then not even to mention the sodium. I mean, this is double the sodium that you should have in a day. So my point here is, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. This is just under the amount of calories that person burnt working out 6 days a week. And that doesn't even count all the calorie counting and fitness pal logging and mind-blowing hard work that they did all week long. So how are you supposed to do this if you can't go out to dinner and have what seems to be the most healthiest meal? So don't be frustrated, because you can do it. Don't cheat, have a treat. And you could do this if you have a plan. And so this person could have planned this by going on Fitness Pal and looking everything up before they went. They could have looked up the bang bang shrimp, because I guarantee you there is no way they would have eaten the bang bang shrimp for $3.90 for 2 shrimps. They would have made a better choice at that. And so there's the perfect example of log it and record it and don't be mindless. You know, don't have it because the person that you went out with is like, hey, let's just get bang bang shrimp, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll eat one. I mean, that's just what we do when we go out to eat. We don't think that appetizers is the top reason why we are taken down when we go out to eat. So if you have a plan, you could look it up. That ahi tuna on the menu, there was actually one on the same menu that was half the calories, because it was on the light menu. And the only difference between the two is the one on the light menu didn't have those crunchy onion things on top with, and it wasn't served with rice. So you could have still had that delicious entree, but it would have been a little different if you had done the research before. And that person could have gotten out of that restaurant with half of those calories. So the point is, splurging is fine, but don't be mindless. And that's the biggest problem, is people don't think, people don't look. You know, when we order pizza, you can trim off half the calories of your pizza order if you look up what pizza is and tell them light cheese and hold the pepperoni. And, you know, it's really a matter of, how bad do you want that pepperoni? Do you want a slice of pizza to be, you know, 500 calories a slice where you only get 1, or do you want it to be 200 a slice where you can have 2 or 3? So you need to make those decisions. So having a plan, just like anything, this entire program that you guys are on, it's planned. You have a plan. And this cheesecake here, This cheesecake is a light cheesecake. This piece of cheesecake, this picture of this cheesecake is a cheesecake that's only 125 calories. You'd never know by looking at it, but perfect example. There's the plan. If you're craving something, it doesn't have to be the 1,000-calorie version. It could be the light version. So if you want to have a cheat meal and have a cheeseburger, let's just say, you're dying for the cheeseburger, but you also want cheesecake, pick and choose. Have the cheeseburger, but make some light version of a cheesecake and enjoy that with the cheeseburger instead of having that mindset of cheat meal and ordering every possible thing that you haven't had in the last 2 months and getting it out of your system, because those calories still count. They don't go away, and once you consume them, they don't go away. So I'm going to talk about our little Get You Fit characters, and many of you have met these people before. I think only 3 of them are making an appearance tonight. So I want to explain how daily splurges could impact your progress. So the first person I want to introduce you to is Perfect Pilates Patty. And this is her week. And what you can see here in the green is perfect. Breakfast, snack, lunch, dinners. Her calories are spot on. She's following the plan. Everything's perfect. What she's doing at night, though, in the red, is she's having her splurge. And it's a mindless splurge, but she's putting the kids to bed. She's exhausted after her long day, and she's having 2 glasses of wine and a little bit, some cheese and crackers. And that's it. I mean, my God, she busts her butt all day. Look at it, it's perfect. Like everything is on the food scale. And then to top it off, she goes to Pilates class on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays. She does a double class and Sundays. I mean, she's perfect. But she has her wine and her cheese and doesn't really calculate it. So after the entire week, as you can see here, and I also need to also note that 1 cigarette lighter size of cheese, so I don't have a cigarette lighter, so I have a chapstick, of cheese is 100 calories. So when you're sitting there having your glass of wine and you cut some cheese up, there's 100 calories. So you put this on a Triscuit, which is 70 calories, and she's just having some wine and cheese. It's mindless. And in her brain, she's thinking, this is my daily splurge, my 10% splurge. Well, after it's all said and done, at the end of the week, she's over consumed 4,000 calories. And if you do the math, you can see here. Oh, and I forgot to add, on Saturdays, she does like to over splurge, go out to eat and have her cheat meal on Saturdays. So in addition to the little splurges, she's having her meal too. And so at the end of the week, despite the fact that she's doing her Pilates, if you do the math, she is gaining 2,100 calories. She's a surplus 2,100 calories. So she's actually gaining 2.4 pounds every month. So with this perfect behavior, this person is not seeing why they're not losing weight. And they're eating perfect. So example of mindless. And instead of that, Perfect Pilates could measure her wine, not have her cheese, and save her splurge for what I'm going to show you later. All right, so now we have 2 steps forward. Here's Fiona. All right, so any over exercisers in the group here, listen up. So this 2 steps forward, here's Fiona, is a runner, and she's badass. She's perfect all day. Perfect. Runs 10 miles, runs 7 miles. Then she kind of hits a wall. So Tuesday, she's feeling really tired. So, doesn't really watch her calories on Tuesday. And this isn't even that extreme. You know, this is just lots of peanut butter, extra oatmeal, Chipotle for dinner, ice cream. All right. Well, now she's feeling really guilty after this day. So she gets up the next day, cranks out 10 miles, eats perfect. I mean, whoa, that's like a lot. I mean, that should make up for this, right? I mean, 10 miles, that's insane. Plus, she ate perfect all day. And then the next day she ate perfect. And then the next day she ran 10 more miles and ate perfect. But then Saturday, she's too restrictive during the week. So she gets up Saturday, she goes out to breakfast, stops at Starbucks, goes out for sushi with her friends, blah, blah. The night goes on. Next day, gets up, same cycle, perfect eating, runs 10 miles. Well, at the end of the week, this gal here has run 50 miles, right? I mean, she's burnt 5,000 calories. But if you look at what she went over, she's still gained 4,600 calories in overage, which is a 5.2 pound a month gain. And this happens a lot to people that exercise to eat. And we have this thought of, I'm gonna burn everything and I'm gonna eat more. And this was actually me in 2010 maybe. And I was a badass. I was up in Corral B, a fast runner, but I was not measuring my food, and I was over exercising and then overeating about twice a week. And I was overeating peanut butter, for God's sake. I wasn't eating cheeseburgers. I was eating, you know, those energy bites that are on my blog. I was not measuring those. I was popping those like popcorn. And so the weight was just packing on, and I had no idea why. And it was literally the 2 steps forward. So now we have the famous committed to cheat day Charlotte. And this is classic, perfect all week. We see this a lot, perfection. But then Saturday is cheat day. And I know you're looking at these numbers going, oh, come on, who eats like this? I guarantee you that you all did. I guarantee you, this is not even that much. I mean, if you look at a typical Saturday, going out to breakfast, having an omelet served the way it is, could be over 1,800 calories. You know, our society is filled with over, our serving sizes are humongous. We don't pay attention to the things that we put into our mouth. And so this cheat day adds up. And in this case, this person here is the classic 2.5 pounds up. And this person is the one that is 188, 189, 188, 189, 187, 188, 189, 187, just doesn't go anywhere. It's just, and seemingly works really, really hard. Well, they are, but that one day just doesn't disappear. It doesn't disappear. And I'm going to show you my heaviest picture yet. And this was when I was eating my cheat meals. And I'm sad to say my husband and I would go and we would get full pies from Tom's in Huntley there. And we would just have a pie, and you know, he would eat most of it, of course, but there was no counting of calories on cheat days. And I know it added up because I was literally 5 pounds heavier every Monday. And it's the most counterproductive thing ever to do that. So the realistic way to do this is to have a splurge when you want it. And so I'm going to introduce you to Sally. Sally follows the plan. She doesn't over exercise. She just follows the plan. But on a random Wednesday, her girlfriends decide they're going to go out for lunch, and she's planning on staying on the plan. But she gets to the restaurant and they all start ordering, and they're all ordering things that sound really appealing to her. And so this one orders a cheeseburger, 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 cheeseburger. So she decides, you know what? I kind of want a cheeseburger. So as she's sitting there feeling really guilty about not ordering a salad, she realizes that she should not cheat herself, because when we leave restaurants and we order salads because we think it's the right thing to do, we end up derailing. So the inner voice in her head, she ordered the cheeseburger. She told the waitress, hold the mayo, hold the fries. She ate the cheeseburger. The cheeseburger was amazing. It was the best cheeseburger she's ever had in her life. It was so good. Her lunch was 1,000 calories. She logged it. It made her sick to her stomach that it was 1,000 calories, but she logged it. She realized it was 1,000 calories. She did not need a snack that day. She had a light dinner that day because she had this cheeseburger. She moved on with her day, moved on with her Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, despite the fact that she had the 1,000 calorie cheeseburger in the middle of the week, which is mind blowing. She still was under by 900 calories, which is still giving her a loss in weight. And this just goes to show you that if you plan what you're doing, you could put all your eggs in one basket and be like, all right, instead of having the cheese and crackers at night, instead of, grazing on insignificant things that don't matter, instead of overdoing the exercise, you could plan it and have it when you really want it. And in this case, it was calculated, it was thought out, and she did not feel guilty about it, and it made no effect on her weight. Now, the next day when she weighed herself, of course, she saw that spike in weight, but we all know it's from the sodium or from the extra weight of the meal that she had, but it went down and it continued to go down. So this is the realistic way to do this. And the best part of this is that it kind of came out of nowhere. She really wanted it. It wasn't, oh, let's have pizza Friday night, and you don't really have that craving for pizza. She truly had that desire to eat the burger. And then I ended with the picture of me at my 50th birthday, where I finally have figured that out and stopped depriving, because knowing and understanding when you could have your splurge is really the key. So tips for successful splurges: plan them, log the calories. I can't emphasize that enough. I cannot emphasize that enough. And if you go over, it's okay. Just like you saw Sally went over by 1,000 calories, it did nothing to her regimen. But because she logged it, she didn't go over by 6,000 calories. So it's okay to go over, but allow yourself to have the splurge when you want it, not when someone else guilts you into it, because that's another thing. Oftentimes we get people that know you're on a diet, and you get the peer pressure of, oh, come on, you've been good all week, just have a slice of pizza, and you don't really want the slice of pizza. That is not a time for you to cave and have it. Have it when you want it. Know that it should be a meal and not a day. And this one here is so important, and I didn't talk about this before the Cooper's Hawk thing, but don't go into the splurge hungry. So one thing that I also used to always do is when I would have my cheats, I would basically reduce my calories down to almost the most minuscule amount, so I could save my calories for that meal at night. Well, if that's not signing yourself up for the biggest food fest calorie overage ever, I mean, don't go into a situation where you're going to overeat. So actually treat the day like a normal day. You're better off going over your calories by 500 than going to the restaurant starving and eating the bread and your arm off while you're waiting. You know, I mean, it makes no sense. So having a binge block is the most genius thing you could do. So before you go out to eat, before you have your cheat or your splurge rather, take the edge off by having a high protein snack. You're still going to enjoy your meal. You're just not going to want to eat everything else in sight. And I've told this story many times where I accidentally stumbled across the binge block, and I had a snack before I went out to eat, and it saved me thousands of calories. Because we know what happens. You get there and they bring the bread and you dive in, and you leave the restaurant feeling awful because you overate. So the next one, big one, is report to the warden. Like I say, is the scale. If you don't want to weigh yourself the next day because you just don't want to see the number, knowing that, you know, you had a high sodium meal, that's fine, but don't wait any longer than a day. What you're going to see that spike up is a fluctuation. And I actually tell people, look at that and embrace what your body does. It goes up and then it goes right back down. It's just a fluctuation. It will drop. But if you avoid the scale after you've had a splurge and you feel really crummy, sometimes it's not as bad as you think. And that mental mindset of feeling crummy might derail you for the next day. And so most importantly, you want to monitor your weight patterns and determine the frequency of the splurges based on that. So what that means is if you had your cheeseburger on Wednesday and your weight continued to drop, then it's okay to do that once a week if your weight continues to drop. If your weight starts to stand still, then you know that maybe 1,000-calorie cheeseburger every Wednesday might be a little much, and you should maybe pull it back a little bit. On the same token, inevitably what happens when people start splurging, one splurge a week turns into 6. And so you have to be very attentive to the frequency of these splurges, because eventually your body is not going to keep losing. It's going to start tapering off. And unless you really remember how many times you splurged in a week, it's your body's not, unless your metabolism is strong as steel. And if you're brand new to this, it's not going to be yet. Pay attention to your weight loss patterns. And that's where I say logging is important, because then you can go back to your fitness pal and go, oh, yep, that was a splurge. That was another splurge. And you can literally systematically watch your patterns. So examples of splurges. It could be going out for breakfast. Like I said, an omelet out to breakfast, the way they come with all the fixings and the real cheese and the hash browns, that could be a splurge. It doesn't have to be a dinner. Your splurge might just be fries. You might order a normal entree that's healthy, but you might just want the fries. Go for it. That's a splurge. Your splurge might be just to order regular popcorn at the movies whenever they open again. I mean, that is something that a lot of people love and crave, and it doesn't have to be a meal, but that's pretty high calorie situation there. And you know what? It's worth 2 hours of munching. So if that's what you want your splurge to be, then have that be that. It doesn't have to be a restaurant extravaganza. It could be sushi. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily healthy. As you can see here, I have the fried ones, and of course, it could just be a bunch of candy, if that's what you want it to be. Again, as long as you are logging it, you should be. So, any questions? Now that I've made you all hungry. Questions on splurging and frequency of splurging and watching patterns and that? Nothing? Is that my bestie that joined in? Kim, are you here watching?
I am.
My goodness, what's the occasion?
I thought I'd just check in, see how things are going.
No, you heard me talking about Cooper Talk. That's what
And
happened.
I wanted to learn some things tonight.
No, we're not going to Cooper Talk.
Oh, darn. I was ready to go.
We have done some damage there.
Yes, we have.
Mhm.
Quiet group.
Yeah.
I find it's more of a problem when we go to people's houses for dinner
Mhm.
than a restaurant. Because at a restaurant, I get to choose.
Mm.
When you go to someone's house, you don't get to choose. What's put before you is put before you.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
any help with that?
Yeah, that's actually a really good good question. So that's true. And when you do go to someone's house, you don't want to be rude either, because you don't want to be that guest that says, you know, I'm not going to take that. And people aren't necessarily understanding to just you saying that you're watching your weight or that you're on, you know, a modified plan, unless you say you're having a colonoscopy in the morning. That'll get you off the hook. So pull that one out if you ever need it. But so if you are going to someone's house, or you are in a situation where there's absolutely nothing good to have, and I think I saw somebody. Oh yeah, Sharon's here. I saw Sharon chime in. I always talk about Sharon when I talk about the baseball hot dogs with Sharon. When you are in a situation like going to the ballpark, there's nothing to eat, right? And you have to eat something. So you have two things to do. One, make sure you have something to eat before you go, because then you're safe. And again, the binge blocker. So I want to talk about what the binge blocker actually is, and I keep meaning to make a video of it. But a binge blocker is not a meal. It's not a big, you know, you're not making yourself a big salad with, you know, Brussels sprouts and anything that's going to fill you up like when we fill ourselves up to eat a meal at home. A binge blocker is small. It should fit in a cup size container, but it's high calorie, high fat, healthy fat, high protein, about 25 grams of protein, 10 grams of healthy fat, and small. So it could be 4 ounces of chicken breast and half of an avocado. You got your protein, you got your fat. Could be a cup of cottage cheese and 10 almonds, protein, fat. It could be tuna fish and avocado, you know, small. So what's going to happen when you eat something small like that? You're not feeling full. You're not ruining your appetite for when you do go to the guest's house. But when they do serve you, you're satiated. You're not starving. So worst case, if it's chicken Alfredo, which is like the worst thing in the world to eat, and you ate a small amount of it, it's still not horrific. You get what I'm saying? If you go unfed and you're famished, you're going to eat a lot of it. And if there's absolutely no choices at all, none, zero, there's not a salad, there's not, you know, there's usually something to pick on. But if there's not, eating a smaller portion of it is the key. So Sharon, who's been successful at keeping her weight off now for how long, Sharon? A good year and a half or so. She was faced with going to the ballpark, and she's like, oh, there's nothing to eat. And I said, well, what would you normally get? And she said, a hot dog. And I'm like, well, would you want a hot dog? And she said, of course, yeah. Well, think about it. A hot dog is 380 calories. I mean, when you think about, it's not healthy for you, but calorically, if you can still go to someone's house and they're feeding you food that is not on the plan, but if you can keep it within your caloric range, and maybe go over by your 200 window, you can do it. So you have your binge blocker, you go, and you're not famished, so you're not eating all the appetizers. You can manage it that way. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So my perfect example is my brother, who's like an insane cook, and we go to his parties for his kids, and there's like 12,000 things to eat. I mean, there's like literally that many entrees. I always have a binge blocker because the food is left out too. We're at a restaurant, they take it away. We're at a party, you know, you're grazing, you're constantly going back. And so if you are not famished, you're typically not going to keep going up to the guacamole bowl and diving in. You get what I'm saying? The edge has been taken off. So great question though. And if you could bring a dish, always bring a dish, because then at least you know you have something to eat. So,
Unless they ask you to bring dessert, which is what happened this week. So,
well, but you could have brought one of my desserts.
okay, I'm gonna look at it.
Or another thing to do is if they're not, and a lot of the Get You Fit desserts, you never know. I mean, they're all, but what you could also do is bring a dessert and then make another one that's light, and then you could stick to the light one.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else? Nothing. You guys all ready to dig in on a cheat meal this weekend? A splurge? I would tell you
Okay.
though, it would be interesting to have, and it'd be difficult to do, but it would be an interesting experiment to have you guys calculate the calories of a typical off the rails day of calories. Because when I would carb load for a marathon, and it was just eat all. And I mean, my ultras where I was running, 70-mile races, I would chalk up 5,000 calories easy. I mean, it was not even hard, right, Kim? She would just shovel food into my mouth.
Yeah, and I would shovel food into my mouth at the same time.
And then my fitness pal, even if you log it, says, oh, you have extra calories because you burned so much. It would drive me crazy when I would do it.
Yep. So, yeah, definitely.
Irene, have you ever been the type of person that just could not stop eating something that you thought tastes so good? I mean, do you have any tips for someone who is like, oh my God, this is just too good to put down? How do you just stop at like a small 100-calorie portion of something? Like sometimes you just can't do it.
So,
It's like I'm almost like a drug addict where I'm almost just like, nope, I can't eat that.
so you're saying like if you're having like say there's you're making like those energy bites, like I said, and you're gonna eat one, you're gonna eat 12.
Yeah.
Like how do you stop once you have started and you're going? Well, I'll let you know when I figure it out.
It's almost like, seriously, it's like being a drug addict where you just are almost better off saying no.
Yeah. So
altogether.
honestly, my true tip for that, because I still experience it, when you are eating something and you love it so much and you want to just keep eating it, your mind just says you just don't care anymore. But typically when that happens, one, you are probably hungry. You haven't had the right snacks in the day. You're not going to typically do that if you are in the right mindset. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. But what I found helps me is to log it or to be aware of the calories. So for example, I got these chocolate covered cherries from TJ Maxx, on the aisle there. I always get trapped there buying that crap. And you have no idea what the calories are of those. Well, you eat one, you eat 12. I probably would not have eaten 12 if I would have taken a minute to put them on the food scale and seen that each one was 80 calories. You get what I'm saying? So if you identify the caloric worth of them, that might slow you down, but that takes a tremendous amount of willpower to do. Now, once you start eating and the damage is done, my advice is consider that a danger food and don't buy it for a while. Like I know I cannot make the those energy bites because I can't stop eating them. So I don't make them. I've even tried freezing them and I eat them frozen. So I just don't make them. I mean, and I know that about me, and they're 90-ish calories each, and it is just not worth it for me. So and it's hard, you know, when you're at the grocery store and you're like, I really want to buy these, or, you know, I really want to make, you know, a certain something, but if you aren't strong enough to surpass that, you just can't put yourself in that situation. And it's taken a long time for me to walk past the, you know, Cheetos or whatever it is that I know causes me that anguish. Another tactic is to allow yourself to have a small portion, because if you're always telling yourself, no, 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 you can't have any. You can't have any chocolate. You can't have any chocolate. You can't have any chocolate. Maybe if you allow yourself to have a little bit of chocolate and make it okay, then you won't feel so deprived and then feel like you have to eat a bunch of it when you do eat it. Does that make sense? So you kind of have to experiment with both of those, but it's usually a certain food that will trigger that with people. So does that help? And also it's time of day too. You might be bored. You know, if it's a certain time of day, you might be grabbing at food because you're bored, or you want to socialize, and you know, instead of being on the phone or talking to somebody, you're munching. So, any other questions? None, Doc? All right, sounds good. Well, I made today the in the crock pot, the from month 2, the pot pie soup. And I added a little twist to it. I put little gnocchis in it. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to add that to the site. That needed little gnocchis in it, because it needed, if you haven't made it yet, it didn't have a crust. So that gave it a little bit of a crust. So I'll add that to the site. Super yummy. So, all right, you guys, that's my splurge for tonight. The gnocchis.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.